times, but he only knew one way to work, the right way. The beat writer turned columnist who loved America's pastime, the sweet science of boxing, and the horses, wrote passionately about all of them, and lived for being in the arena. Hochman came to Philadelphia in 1959 and hit the ground running. At a time when this city had 3 daily newspapers and just as many wire services, Hochman carved his niche with hard work and the attitude of the common man. All this in a time when news traveled only as fast as one could pedal.
When I first came to the Philadelphia Daily News as a baseball writer, they sent my stories by Morse code. There was a guy in the press box with a wooden box and a telegraph key. I'd hand him a page of copy and he would do dots and dashes. He would arrive at the Western Union office, and a guy named Shorty with a headset would then change the dots and dashes into words, get on his bicycle, go over to the Daily News office and submit my copy.
As the Phillies beat writer, Stan watched and reported on the Phillies' great collapse in 1964. He was the first Philadelphia sports writer to introduce us to a young, smoking Joe Frazier. He covered the greats of the Big Five and was on hand for the Eagles championship in 1960. He even made a cameo in Rocky V.
Kane's title was manufactured. He never won it from Balboa.
Everybody else in the film is given lines that some scriptwriter wrote. But Stan, of course, that wasn't good enough for Stan. Stan was going to come up with his own line and did it on the spot, and it turned out to be better than probably any other line in the whole movie, actually, when you get right down to it.
The bottom line is Tommy Gunn beat a second-rate fighter with so much glass in his jaw he ought to be a chandelier.
Later in his career, Stan had a radio talk show before making the jump to television in the mid-1990s, where his readers got to put an unmistakable voice and face with the words they had read for years.
Anybody that finds fault with a 5-0 start would marry Julia Robinson and expect her to cook. I said, this is it. No more old white guy complaining about tattoos or what he wears.
Would you be upset if they made the playoffs?
I'd be stunned. I'd be shocked.
But if it happened,
I would appear here in my underwear.
Wait a minute.
If there's a local sports hall of fame, Stan Hochman is probably in it. Just recently, he was inducted into the Big Five Hall of Fame, and last year, the Pennsylvania Boxing Hall of Fame. For more than half a century, Stan Hochman gave us a front row seat. Sometimes that seat would have splinters, but his readers always knew he was at the top of his game.
In my opinion, Stan is the greatest sports columnist that Philadelphia's ever had. For 30-plus years, Stan Hochman was the guy that people wanted to read. If it was after a big game, after a big fight, after a big horse race, whatever, people wanted to buy the Daily News to read what Stan Hochman had to say about it.
The beat writer turned columnist who landed on radio and television and was a mentor to others who wanted to follow in his footsteps, a path filled with emotion and opinion. He was perfect for a city that expected the best of both.
Both Andy, who's his daughter, and Gloria, who's his wife, are both writers as well. And Stan would very often say, you know, I'm only the third best writer in my own family. I mean, that's the kind of person that he was. Extremely humble, extremely warm, but immensely talented. And a guy who was a giant in the Philadelphia sports scene. You think about the great sports figures in this city over the years, and you think about the athletes and you think about the coaches, but the Philadelphia sports media is a big part of that story too. And I think Stan stood above everybody else.